Hello and good afternoon, everyone. As we get set, we have for your listening and viewing pleasure as well some women's lacrosse here on the Capital Sports Network. I'm Charlie Danis. I'll be bringing you the action today from Promort Field at Bernlohr Stadium as the Capital Crusaders get set to host their longtime rivals, the Otterbein Cardinals. Before we preview today's matchup between the purple and white and the Cardinal and gold, let's go ahead and take a look at the last game for Capital. That was back on last Saturday, March the 24th. This was a game that could have gone either way, and unfortunately for Capital, it went the way of John Carroll as the Blue Streaks were able to escape Bernlohr with a 12-11 overtime win. Capital led this game at the half by a score of 9-8. We had to head to extra time after John Carroll outscored Capital in the second half 3-2. But then it was Gina Vilsack with the game-winning goal. Not even 30 seconds into the start of the overtime, she was able to deliver a big win for the Blue Streaks as John Carroll came away with a 12-11 victory in overtime. Some standout performers for Capital in that game. Reagan Hunud had 1 goal and 5 assists. 4 goals for Kara Hines, who recently reached a big milestone. We'll get to that in just a moment. Taylor Thomas also had a nice game. She had 3 goals and an assist. So let's go ahead and talk about Kara Hines for just a moment. The Capital senior midfielder became the first Capital women's lacrosse player to score 200 career goals in that game against John Carroll. She had 4 in that loss to the Blue Streaks, and now she sits at 201 career goals. She has found the back of the net at least 3 times in each of Capital's games this season. She has been an offensive force for the purple and white, as Hines will look to continue to do just that against Otterbein. Now, if Kara Hines is one of the top offensive players for Capital, if you go over to the Cardinals, Abby Smoot fills that role for Otterbein just fine. She leads the Cardinals in goals and points so far with 31 and 36 respectively. Emma Pussaker has also racked up 36 points via 17 goals and 19 assists. And Allison Rose and Tasha Williams, they have each played in 9 games in goal for Otterbein, and each has played about the same amount of time. According to our starting lineups today, let's see here. The starting goaltender is expected to be Allison Rhodes. She's a freshman out of Hilliard, so nearby here in the central Ohio area, so she will get the start in goal. Meanwhile, for Capital, it'll be Lisa Lotes. She had a career-best 10 saves against John Carroll, and in a lot of big spots, particularly in the second half, when John Carroll could have really lengthened their lead. She played a close and forcing it into overtime. Unfortunately, wasn't able to make the save on that goal made by Gina Vilsack, but she'll look for an even better effort here today, taking on a Cardinals team that enters with a 5-5 overall record and a 1-0 mark with an OAC play. Capital's still looking pretty good from a record standpoint, 7-1 overall, although 0-1 with an OAC play. There's no way Capital wants to start off conference play at 0-2, so to say today's game is a must-win is certainly an understatement. Quick timeout. When we come back, we'll take a look at some other players to keep an eye on here this afternoon as Capital and Otterbein renew acquaintances, women's lacrosse style. We're getting set for a presentation of women's lacrosse here on the Capital Sports Network. Back here on the Crusaders pregame show, getting you set for today's women's lacrosse matchup between 2 longtime OAC rivals, the Otterbein Cardinals and your Capital Crusaders. Let's go ahead and take a look at the standings for women's lacrosse in the Ohio Athletic Conference as we enter play today. Baldwin-Wallace, Otterbein, Mount Union, and John Carroll all tied atop the conference with equal 1-0 marks. Ohio Northern has yet to play a game within conference play. They're 3-4 overall in the season. And then Capital, Heidelberg, Muskingum, and Wilmington are the teams that lost their first games within conference play. Let's now go ahead and tell you who is playing who around the conference here this afternoon. We have, let's see here, 3 other games involving OAC teams on this Friday afternoon. Mount Polar Bears have yet to play a game in OAC play so far. And Baldwin-Wallace, they will be on the road at Wilmington taking on the Quakers. And then finally, Heidelberg playing host to Muskingum. All those games are scheduled for a 1 o'clock start, just like our game. And then on Saturday, it'll be Heidelberg on the road. They will go out of conference to take on Oberlin. That game is scheduled for a 1 o'clock start as well. So now while we have a moment, let's go ahead and get you the starting lineups for both teams. Let's first start with the Otterbein Cardinals. At attacker, the sophomore from Westerville, Ohio, number 1, Emma Husaker. At attacker, the junior from Dublin, Ohio, number 9, Abby Smoot. Also at attacker will be the sophomore from Montgomery, Ohio, number 12, Julie Platts. At defender will be the sophomore from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, number 13, Christiana Nicholas. Also at defender will be the sophomore from Hookstown, Pennsylvania, number 16, Caitlin McDougall. At midfield will be the freshman from Columbus, number 18, Kira Mulcahy. Also at midfield will be the freshman from Copley, Ohio, number 19, Julia Karras. At defender will be the freshman from Cleveland, Ohio, number 20, Katie Barber. At defender will be the junior from Upper Arlington, Ohio, number 21, Kenna Walquist. At midfield will be the freshman from Dublin, Ohio, number 27, Cameron Finnegan. Also at midfield will be the junior from Denver, Colorado, number 28, Noah Crawley. And finally, rounding out the starting line for Otterbein, in goal, the freshman from Hilliard, Ohio, number 29, Allison Rhodes. The head coach of Otterbein in her 5th season with the Cardinals, Stephanie Schmidt. Now the starting lineup for the Crusaders. In goal will be the junior from Forest, Virginia, 00, Lisa Lotes. At attacker will be the sophomore from Dublin, Ohio, number 2, Kaylee King. At attacker will be the senior from Pickerington, Ohio, number 3, Reagan Hanud. At midfield will be the sophomore from Pickerington, Ohio, number 4, Catherine Walton. At defender will be the senior from Canton, Ohio, number 5, Mary Manos. At midfield will be the senior from Columbus, Ohio, number 6, Kara Hines. At attacker will be the 5'6" senior from Massillon, Ohio, number 8, Taylor Thomas. At midfielder will be the freshman from Lewis Center, Ohio, number 11, Alex Lowry. At defender will be the junior from Uniontown, Ohio, number 12, Katie Enoch. At midfield will be the junior from Boardman, Ohio, number 15, McKenna Ozinger. At midfield will be the junior from Boardman, Ohio, number 16, Brooke Overly. And rounding out the starting lineup for Capital today will be the junior attacker from Granville, Ohio, number 18, Taylor Barclay. The head coach of the Crusaders in her 5th season with Capital, Stacy Wood. Capital enters play today with an overall record of 7-1, a record of 0-1 within conference play. Otterbein, meanwhile, 5-5 with a record of 1-0. Otterbein coming off of a 11-9 win over Ohio Wesleyan. That was back on March 26th. Their conference win was over Heidelberg, a final of 18-8 over the Berg in that one. We are just moments away from getting things started here at Promort Field at Bernlohr Stadium. Another quick timeout. When we come back, the start of yet another chapter in the long rivalry between Otterbein and Capital, 2 teams that have been going at it for a long, long time within the Ohio Athletic Conference. You're getting set to listen to and watch a presentation of women's lacrosse here on the Capital Sports Network. Cloudy, chilly day here in Bexley, Ohio. Wind is blowing a little bit, but it is not going to be warm by any stretch of the imagination today. The high for Columbus today is expected to be somewhere around 46 degrees today. Actually, the high could go up to as high as 49. But it remains very cloudy here in Bexley as we get set for another Easter weekend around here. We hope that all of you will have a very happy Easter weekend.
In goal, a freshman, number 29, Allison Rhodes.
Let's now go ahead and send it to our public address announcer.
In attack, number 1, Emma Pusecker. In defense, number 13, Christina Nicholas. In defense, number 16, Caitlin McDougall. In the midfield, number 18, Kiera Maleki. In the midfield, number 19, Julia Karras. In defense, number 20, Katie Barber. In defense, number 21, Kenna Walquist. In the midfield, number 27, Cameron Finnegan. In the midfield, number 28, Noah Crawley. And the starters, or the captains for Otterbein. In attack, number 9, Abby Smoot. And in attack, number 12, Julia Platts. Cardinals are led by head coach Stephanie Schmidt and assisted by Elena Schultz. And now let's meet the starting lineup for your Capital University Crusaders. In goal, a junior from Lynchburg, Virginia, number 00, Lisa Lotz. In attack, a sophomore from Dublin, number 2, Kaylee King. In the midfield, a sophomore from Pickerington, number 4, Kat Walton. In defense, a senior from Canton, number 5, Mary Manos. In attack, a senior from Massillon, number 8, Taylor Thomas. In the midfield, a freshman from Lewis Center, number 11, Alex Lowry. In the midfield, a junior from Youngstown, number 15, McKenna Ozinger. In the midfield, a junior from Boardman, number 16, Brooke Overly. In attack, a sophomore from Granville, number 18, Taylor Barkley. And now the captains for Capital. In attack, a senior from Pickerington, number 3, Reagan Hunnad. In the midfield, a senior from Columbus, number 6, Kara Hines. And in defense, a junior from Uniontown, number 12, Katie Enott. Your Crusaders are led by fifth-year head coach Stacy Wood, and she is assisted by Katie Chase and Tori DeSenza. Fans, at this time, would you please rise and remove your caps for the playing of our national anthem?
We are ready to play some lacrosse here at Promort Field at Bernlohr Stadium. Hello again, everyone. I'm Charlie Danis. Welcome into this presentation of women's lacrosse here on the Capital Sports Network. It's a renewal of one of the best rivalries in the Ohio Athletic Conference. Crosstown rivalry here in Columbus. Otterbein making the trip down to Bexley to take on the Capital Crusaders.
Be loud, be proud, but most of all, be positive. And thank you for your support of Crusader Athletics.
Capital donning the all-black look. Black jerseys and black shorts, white numbers, and purple lettering. Capital across the front of the jerseys. Meanwhile, Otterbein going with the white shorts along with the red jerseys, gold numbers, and gold shoulders as well, or at least the outline of the shoulders in gold. Otterbein across the front of their jerseys. Doesn't matter what the sport is. It could be football, basketball, lacrosse, volleyball, whatever. When these two teams get together, bragging rights, it is a rivalry game that each team wants to win in the worst way. And after the loss that Capital suffered to John Carroll last Saturday, I can tell you this right now, Stacey Wood's crew is not looking to go 0-2 to begin conference play. This is about as big a must-win for this program right now going forward as you can possibly get. And by the way, the men's team will be in action later on today. They will be at Otterbein. So they will have their next chapter of the rivalry begin at 7 o'clock later on tonight on the campus of Otterbein University. We are underway here at Bernlohr Stadium, and it is Capital who controls the opening faceoff. So they will get a chance here offensively to begin the game. Going around the net, and a shot and a save made by Allison Rhodes, the freshman out of Hilliard. So nice job by Rhodes that time as Capital was looking to draw blood rather quickly here. But Rhodes was up to the task in the Otterbein goal. So now the Cardinals will look to try to get it past midfield here as Capital looks to put a little defensive pressure in this particular junction of the game. Just underway here at Bernlohr Stadium, Otterbein and Capital, women's lacrosse style. Ball tipped up in the air. It'll go out of bounds, and it'll still be Otterbein ball, but very nice active stick that time by Kara Hines. Now the ball is loose, and it's picked up. Picked up by Catherine Walton. Walton will scurry towards the goal on the far side. She'll go behind the net. As Capital will now look to swing it around the Otterbein goal. And now a player for Capital took a little bit of a tumble and is slow to get up. Looks as though that's Taylor Barclay, the junior out of Granville, Ohio. And Barclay will get a moment here to collect her bearings just to make sure everything is A-okay. I don't know if she got hit or tripped or what, but looks as though she'll be okay. No need for a substitute. So now play will resume. Back outside to Hines. Hines will swing it around to Ozinger. Now over to Hanud. Hanud will race in looking for an opening, but instead she'll go behind the net. Pass inside, but it went over the stick of Barclay. Luckily for her, picking it up was Ozinger. Ozinger will now try to rotate it around a little bit as they attempt to go inside. Shot, and it is right off the right post that time. That was a nice entry pass, I believe, inside to Hines, but Hines was just not able to finish the deal on the inside. Now there's a scramble for the loose ball in the middle. It continues to pop out, and coming away with it is Taylor Barclay. Barclay inside, and the save made once again by Allison Rhodes. And now a stoppage in play here as a couple of our referees get together. And now play will resume. 2 minutes have gone by here in the first half. Still no score between Capital and Otterbein, although Capital, they've had their chances. They've had 3 shots so far in the game. Otterbein has yet to possess the ball offensively in the Capital zone. And now the ball is loose, and that is going to be a goal for Capital. How about that? Kara Hines came up from behind Allison Rhodes, knocked the ball loose from Rhodes' stick, and then once Hines was able to get possession, Hines had a clear path to the goal. Capital gets a 1-0 lead. Nice heads-up play that time by Kara Hines, who recently scored her 200th career goal here at Capital. That is what you need in a senior leader right there, the ability to make plays. And I don't know what Rhodes was doing right there. The freshman from Hilliard was outside of the goal. Did not notice Hines coming up from behind her. Lost possession. It was a turnover, and Capital was able to turn that into a goal. 1-0 lead for the Crusaders with 27:39 to go in the first half. And for those of you keeping track of the statistic, that now makes it 202 career goals for Kara Hines. Speaking of Hines, she wins the opening faceoff as Capital will look to lengthen this lead now. They'll go behind the Otterbein net. Passing it over to Kaylee King, who's had a really good sophomore season, but the ball is loose and Otterbein comes up with the ground ball. Long toss complete to Walquist. She will attempt to take it upfield on the far side, but now she'll pitch it back. Capital doing a nice job so far defensively. Thrown up in the air. Now it's loose, but it is eventually gathered up by Otterbein's Julie Platts, the sophomore out of Montgomery. Now a shot, and it is just over the crossbar that time. Attempting to get a goal right there was Abby Smoot, the junior from Dublin. Otterbein maintains possession. This is really the first time that we've seen Otterbein down here on this side of the field as Emma Pusiker going over her options offensively. And a very nice job defensively right there by Katie Enoth, the junior out of Uniontown. Some nice pressure on Pusiker. 1-0 lead for Capital. Approaching 26 minutes remaining here in the first half, thanks to a spectacular goal by Kara Hines, knocking the ball loose from the stick of Allison Rhodes, the goalkeeper for Otterbein. Twisting and egg save made by Lotz. Lotz did a nice job of standing her ground that time. Got a little help from the defense as well, but kept some active eyes. Nice action with the stick as well. Hines quickly up ahead for Capital. She'll now pitch it on over to Reagan Hanud, coming off of a 5-assist performance in the loss to John Carroll last Saturday. Hanud. Now a shot, and that will go wide of the net. Kaylee King with the attempt that time. Tried a high bouncer, but just had a little too much on that. Capital still able to maintain possession, however. Pitch back out in front to Ozinger, the junior out of Boardman. Now it's loose, and now a whistle. And now Kara Hines with another golden opportunity here as the foul was called against Otterbein. Let's see if Hines can make it 2. Hines quickly forward, and she finds the back of the net once again. Kara Hines, the senior from Columbus, already with 2 goals on the afternoon. 2-0 lead for Capital with 25-16 remaining in the first half. And with those 2 goals, that gives Kara Hines 31 on the season, breaking a previous tie that she had with Catherine Walton, who had 29 entering play today. So far, Capital off to a rollicking start, 2-0 over Otterbein with 25-16 remaining in the first half. And it really has been all Kara Hines. The first goal, she was able to knock the ball loose from the stick of Otterbein goalie Allison Rhodes. And then the second one, after a foul was called against Otterbein, she's given a clear path to the goal, and she takes advantage. Capital once again coming up with the ball off of a face-off of midfield. It's quickly pitched ahead to Hanud. Hanud now will take her dear sweet time, and she'll attempt to go behind the Otterbein net. She'll swing it around now. Back out front to Ozinger. Ozinger being face-guarded by a couple of Otterbein defenders now. To the inside. Hines has another one. My goodness, talk about getting a hat trick in quick order. Kara Hines with 3 goals already against Otterbein, and we still have 24:45 remaining in the first half. This is unbelievable.
Goal scored by number 6, Kara Hines.
So now 32 goals on the season for Hines. She has scored 3 goals here in a little over 5 minutes of play. My goodness, Kara Hines, the senior from Columbus, definitely brought her A game today. Speaking of Hines, she's at midfield looking to control another faceoff here. All popped up in the air, battle for it, and Otterbein comes away with it. So now the Cardinals, well, hold on a minute. Now comes loose. Capital comes away with a loose ball. It is pitched ahead. Reagan Hanud up ahead on the near side. Hanud pitched inside. Oh, just missed the stick of Taylor Thomas. If Thomas had caught that cleanly, it might be 4-0 in favor of Capital. But nice job by McKenna Ozinger of picking up the loose ball and keeping this possession alive offensively for Capital. Ball bouncing around, finally gathered up by Hanud. Reagan Hanud, a senior from Pickerington, Ohio, went to Pickerington North High School. Pickerington North and Pickerington Central, the two big schools in that particular area. And now let's see here, another whistle. Looks like this is going to go against Otterbein once again. And once again, a Capital player will have a clear path to the goal, at least to start with. Shot on the way, and another goal for Capital. This time, it's McKenna Ozinger, the junior from Boardman, Ohio. 4-0 in favor of Capital. 23:50 remaining in the first half. It's been an offensive onslaught for Capital so far. 3 goals on the afternoon for Kara Hines. And then McKenna Ozinger gets on the scoreboard as well. That now makes it 12 goals on the season for McKenna. Already has 13 assists as well here in 2018. 4-0 lead for Capital, 23:50 remaining in the first half. Could not have asked for a better start if you are Capital. Meanwhile, if you're Otterbein right now, you're kind of shaking at this point. You're looking for anything, something good. But Capital continues to play pretty well here as they win yet another face-off at midfield and yet another offensive possession coming up here for Capital. Swung around to Kaylee King. King will go inside. Thomas had the ball. Now it's loose as Thomas stumbles a little bit. Capital gets the ball back. Looks to reset here offensively. King, she'll go inside. Now the ball is bouncing around and it is finally gathered up by Allison Rhodes. Clock stop now with 23:16 remaining in the first half. Capital 4, Otterbein nothing as play will resume. Otterbein now trying to get this one quickly up the field as they try desperately to try to get something going here offensively. Going around the net, Pusiker. Pusiker being guarded by Capital's Katie Enott. Pusiker to her right, fakes to her left. Now she'll go on in. And she loses it at the last second. And Pusiker, while trying to get back possession, apparently a foul was called on Capital. So Otterbein will maintain possession here. 4-0 lead for Capital with 22:26 remaining in the first half. It's been 3 goals by Kara Hines and a goal by McKenna Ozinger. Capital or Otterbein now swinging it around. Kiera Mulcahy. Over to Platts. Platts will attempt to turn. Now she'll hand off. Mulcahy losing it into the middle, and Capital comes away with it. Picking it up for the Crusaders is Brooke Overly. Now called against Otterbein. Capital will maintain possession right here. Checking some scores around the OAC now. Mount Union out to a 6-1 lead over Ohio Northern with 22:11 left to play in the first half of that game. Baldwin Wallace out to a 4-0 lead over Wilmington with 26:41 left in the first half of that one. And finally, Muskingum 1, Heidelberg nothing with 27:10 remaining in the first half of that game. Meanwhile, it's 4-0 in favor of Capital here. 21-22 remaining in the first half. Catherine Walton Over to Osinger, excuse me. Walton spinning, try to bounce that past Allison Rhodes, but no luck there. However, Capital maintains possession. Capital's been doing a nice job of winning the faceoffs, getting back to the ball once it goes behind the Otterbein net, thereby increasing their chances offensively of perhaps getting another goal. Capital has definitely brought the alertness here this afternoon against Otterbein in a game that Capital needs to win. And now a whistle is called, or blown, I should say. And Capital will get yet another opportunity here. A player with a clear path to the goal, at least to start, as Allison Rhodes raised herself in the Otterbein goal. Waiting for the whistle. It blows, and Rhodes is up to the task as she was able to fend off a shot from Taylor Thomas. And now another whistle. Looks like they have given it to Otterbein now. Now the ball is loose, and it is picked up by Capital. Kara Hines. And now another foul was called against Otterbein. Catherine Walton will now have a clear path here as she readies herself with a duel with Allison Rhodes. Walton, bouncer, and it is into the back of the net. Capital 5, Otterbein nothing as Catherine Walton gets on the board, scoring her 30th goal of the season. So 3 goals for Hines, 1 for Osinger, and 1 for Walton. All adds up to a 5-0 lead for Capital. Timeout has now been taken by Otterbein. 20:15 remain in the first half. Capital 5, Otterbein nothing. This is your home for Crusaders Women's Lacrosse, the Capital Sports Network. .20:15 remained in the first half. Capital 5, Otterbein nothing. It's been a fantastic start offensively for the Crusaders today. Kara Hines got things started with a hat trick. She was able to score the first 3 goals of the game, one of which included a swat of the ball away from the stick of Otterbein goalkeeper Allison Rhodes, which actually led to the first goal of the game. Since then, goals by McKenna Osinger as well as Catherine Walton have added to this Capital lead. Could not have asked for a better start for the Crusaders in a rivalry game, in a game in which they need to win. You don't want to go down 0-2 with an OAC play, and this is an especially good recovery for a Capital squad that is still trying to recover from that tough 12-11 loss to John Carroll in overtime last Saturday. But it looks as though that they put that game behind them here, as they look to be in pretty good stead against their longtime rivals, the Cardinals. Play resumes, and once again, Capital wins another face-off at midfield. That's been quite the theme here today. Catherine Walton, Osinger inside. Hines will get another goal. Kara Hines had to duck, dodge, and weave through traffic that time. And Hines somehow, some way, was able to will that ball into the back of the net. And it's a tough day for Allison Rhodes continues in the Otterbein goal. Meanwhile, for Capital, things are looking great for the purple and white. 6-0 in favor of Capital with 19:42 remaining in the first half. Fourth goal of the afternoon already for Kara Hines. Kara Hines, a senior from Columbus, went to Worthington Kilbourne High School back in her prep days. Again, recently, 200th career goal as a member of the Capital women's lacrosse team. And so far on the season, she has scored at least 3 goals in every game played here in 2018. You want to talk about offensive consistency. Kara Hines has had that in spades so far here in 2018. Another shot and another goal for Capital. McKenna Ozinger was set up beautifully as she tallies her second goal of the afternoon. $7-0 lead for Capital. 19:21 remaining in the first half. Getting back to the discussion, though, with Kara Hines, this is now the second time that she has scored at least 4 goals in a game. Actually, I take that back. This is the third time that she scored 4 goals in a game. Did it against John Carroll last Saturday. Also did it at Ohio Wesleyan back on March the 7th. The most goals that she has scored this season, got to go all the way back to February 28th when she was able to light up Newman for 6. Hines once again with the ball. She will pitch it forward to her teammate, Taylor Barclay. Capital 7, Otterbein nothing. Tossed around now to Catherine Walton. Now it's over to Ozinger. Losing the ball is Kaylee King. King somehow gets it back. Puts up a shot, which is wide of the net. Chasing it down, however, is Hines, and Capital will maintain this offensive possession. One thing that has been startling clear, at least at the beginning stages of this game, is Capital has just been dominating possession, as King was not able to get that one to go through. But once again, Hines is able to chase that down, stretching out the stick for good measure, getting that possession. We've only seen Otterbein in Capital zone possessing the ball offensively perhaps 3 or 4 times so far today. So far, it's been all Capital in terms of possessing the ball. Ball will stay in bounds. Now there's a battle for it, and they'll give it to Capital after it went off the stick of an Otterbein player. Now, granted, there is still a lot of lacrosse left to be played here today, but this is exactly what Capital head coach Stacy Wood was looking for in her squad following that heartbreaking loss to John Carroll, a team that Capital thought tooth and nail with last Saturday. Game that came down to overtime, and unfortunately Capital came up short. But Capital still has many games to play throughout this season, and chief among them is going to be that big matchup involving Mount Union. Circle this date, April 14th. That's a Saturday. Capital will head up to Alliance, Ohio to take on the Purple Raiders, and in all likelihood, that could decide who wins the OAC regular season title and gets the #1 overall seed in the OAC tournament. Passed ahead and save made by Lotz. And one of the few times that Otterbein had a rush opportunity, Lotz stood tall and was up to the task. Passed ahead to McKenna Ozinger. Capital 7, Otterbein nothing. 16:39 remaining in the first half. Let's go ahead and take a quick look at the stats of this game. And They're heavily slanted in the favor of the purple and white. Capital so far has outshot Otterbein 15-3 as that was really close. And now a foul is going to be called against Capital, so Otterbein might have a real good shot here of getting their first goal of the afternoon. Readying herself is Cameron Finnegan. She is a freshman midfielder from Dublin, Ohio, went to Jerome High School back in her prep days. Finnegan against Loads. Whistle blows. Finnegan up ahead, has it knocked away, and Loads able to make the save. Nice job by the Capital. Nice pass over to Hines, who will sprint across midfield now. Capital quickly back into the Otterbein zone. Has to head to Thomas. Thomas trying to fend off a couple of Otterbein players, and now Thomas is going to be called for getting a little too rough that time with the elbow as she was attempting to clear space in the middle of that Otterbein zone. 15:44 remain in the first half. It is Capital 7, Otterbein nothing. The Crusaders have outshot the Cardinals 15-4 so far in this game. Capital leads in ground ball 7-3. Draw controls, Capital 7, Otterbein with only 1. And then Capital a perfect 5 of 5 on clears. Otterbein 4 of 8 on clears. And another goal for Capital. The goals just keep on coming for the Crusaders. It's now 8-0 in favor of the purple and white with 15:18 remaining in the first half.
Capital goal scored by number 3, Reagan Hunud.
Reagan Hunud, the senior from Pickerington, Ohio, gets a goal. So Hunud now becomes the 4th different player with at least 1 goal on the day for Capital, joining Catherine Walton, who has 1, Kara Hines, who has 4, and McKenna Osinger, who has 2. And by the way, Hunud also has an assist in this game as well. Capital 8, Otterbein nothing. 15:18 remaining in this first half. A first half that has been very well played for Capital. They have kept Otterbein on their heels seemingly all afternoon so far. Catherine Walton, cross midfield, passed ahead as Brianna Rampy, the sophomore from Hilliard, Ohio, makes an appearance in this game. Reagan Hunud, twisting, turning. Now she'll back out a little bit before passing it over to Rampy. Now out to Osinger. Osinger trying to find a player in the middle of that Otterbein zone, but decides to back out. Hunud to her left. Oh, was trying to pass on the inside to Walton, but Walton missed it that time. Luckily for Capital, Hines is able to pick up the loose ball. Take 2 for the Capital offense. It's bounced on the inside. Trying to fight her way through traffic was Taylor Thomas. And now a foul called again against Otterbein. This has been a problem for the Cardinals today, which has led to a lot of scoring opportunities for Capital. Fouls made on the inside, and that allows Capital players to have a running start essentially at the Otterbein goal. Shot and a save made by Rhodes as Thomas came up empty in her bid for a goal. But hold on, another whistle. And it looks as though that Thomas will get a retry right here. Thomas, pass, and just over the crossbar that time as they tried to fake out the Otterbein defense. McKenna Osinger trying to make a bid for another goal. But Capital was able to race back in time as the ball will now bounce around, and Hines trying for her 5th goal on the afternoon, just wide of the net. But Capital gets it back. 15 seconds on the shot clock, and now time has been stopped, and they will give it to Otterbein. 13:50 remaining in the first half. Capital 8, Otterbein nothing. And now another whistle. And a yellow flag has now been assessed to Capital. Looks as though getting a little too rough that time was Brianna Rampy, the sophomore from Hilliard. Went to Hilliard Darby High School back during her high school days. So Rampy will now take a seat as Otterbein will have an extra man advantage right here. Ball bouncing around. Another ground ball comes up for Capital. Catherine Walton. Or actually, excuse me, Kara Hines comes up with it. Pass to the middle, but too many Otterbein sticks knock that one down. Scramble for the ball. Otterbein comes up with it eventually. Looks like Kenna Walquist was able to come up with it. Now it's bouncing around again, and Capital regains the ball. McKenna Ozinger comes up with it for the purple and white. Or on this particular day, I should say the purple and black, since the Crusaders chose to go with the black jerseys and black shorts today here at Promort Field at Bernlohr Stadium. So Otterbein will now have the ball. Always interesting, always fun when Capital breaks out the black jerseys. From time to time, you'll see the men's and women's basketball teams don the black uniforms. And so far, the women's lacrosse team here at Capital looking pretty good in those uniforms with an 8-0 lead against Otterbein. 12:23 remaining in the first half. Capital back to work here offensively. Just to end that little note on the uniforms, I think it was once the Pro Football Hall of Famer Deion Sanders has once said, if you look good, you feel good. If you feel good, you play good. And so far, Capital has definitely been playing good here today in Bexley. As we take under 12 minutes to play here in the first half. Capital 8, Otterbein nothing. Reagan Hanud trying to find a teammate in the middle. A lot of traffic right there as Taylor Thomas was trying to get on the board with a goal of her own. Finally, Brianna Rampy is able to come back onto the field for Capital after having to serve some time after the penalty. Loose ball, and now Capital has a rush opportunity here if Kaylee King can pick it up cleanly. Actually, that was Reagan Hanud, excuse me, who was trying to make another bid for a goal right there. Hanud now with an active stick as she was battling with Otterbein's, let's see here, looks like that was Julie Platts maybe? Actually, Katie Barber, excuse me, freshman defender from Cleveland. Now Otterbein with an opportunity here, but the pass from Walquist to Mulcahy, a little too high. That'll be a turnover for Otterbein. It's Capital 8, Otterbein nothing, 10:41 and counting. In our first half, Capital has outshot Otterbein 18-4. Ground balls, Capital 11, Otterbein 4, and draw controls, Capital 8, Otterbein 1. Shot on the way, and Rose with the save. And she fended off a goal attempt by Catherine Walton. But Capital still gets possession back, and after a brief pause in the action, play resumes. Rampy out to Hanud. Hanud will now swing it on over to Ozinger, who's up top. But Ozinger loses it. Ozinger lost control of the ball. Katie Barber picks it up for Otterbein. Now a whistle, and Otterbein will still keep possession after the whistle. Spinning and turning upfield now is Cameron Finnegan. Finnegan still with the ball. Now she'll back out a little bit. Passed on over to Kira Mulcahy. Otterbein still looking for their first goal of the game as they trail Capital 8-0. Under 9.5 to play in the first half. Shaky pass behind the Capital net as Platts was able to gather it up. Now with Smoot. Smoot trying to get around a Capital defender. Smoot shot behind the net. Actually, that was more of a pass, excuse me, as Finnegan. She's now moving around a little bit. Finnegan trying to establish some room, and she finds the back of the net with that shot. Nice job by Cameron Finnegan, the freshman from Dublin, Ohio, as Otterbein is finally able to get on the board. Still trailing Capital, however, 8-1 with 8:53 left to go in the first half. Before that, 2 saves have been made by Lisa Lotz, but finally Otterbein is able to solve Lotz in the Capital net. Well, let's hope the Capital can keep the pedal to the metal, so to speak, and finish this first half on a high note. It's already been a glorious first half for the Purple and White as they lead Otterbein 8-1 with 8:53 left to go in the first half. The offense has been humming today, led by Kara Hines, who already has 4 of the goals. She scored half of the goals, actually, for Capital so far on the afternoon. Score update around the OAC now, women's lacrosse-wise. Mount Union dominating Ohio Northern at the moment, 12-1, with 7:10 remaining in the first half. Baldwin-Wallace with a similar-looking score, as they are clearly ahead of Wilmington, 10-1, with 15:43 remaining in the first half of their game. And finally, Heidelberg leading Muskingum 7-2, 15:41 remaining in the first half of that one. Capital back with the ball offensively. As there's a loose ground ball, who's going to get it? Hines gives chase for Capital, and it is finally gathered up by Brooke Delara. Delara, a freshman from Lewis Center, Ohio, and due to the score, the freshman is getting some playing time. Went to Olentangy Orange High School. Another foul called against Capital, and rather than just rush forward, it looks as though the Capitals just pretty much content here to run a little bit of clock, try to get the best shot possible, but knowing that you're comfortably ahead at the moment, 8-1. And it looks like another foul is going to be called against Otterbein. Actually, it looks as though it'll be a yellow card. Heading off the field for Capital is Brooke Delara. As Delara will take a seat, so apparently she was of the offending party on that last penalty. So now Otterbein will look to take advantage here. Up ahead to Pusaker. Pusaker up top as she allows her teammates to get into the ready position offensively. Now it's pitched on over to Smoot. Smoot trying to rush ahead. Now has trouble controlling the ball. Gets it back, however. Still having some issues. Smoot now finally picks it back up. Smoot will now pitch it over to Finnegan. Finnegan will try to rush forward. Finnegan spinning around. She'll pass it off. Pass inside. Now there's a loose ground ball, and Capital comes away with it. Nice defensive play that time by Katie Enot, the junior from Uniontown. And now Capital back with possession here. Pushing the ball is Mary Manos, the senior from Canton. Went to Jackson High School, the same high school that my sister's fiance, Max Paulus, actually went to up there in the Canton area. A school that is well known for its football and also for its basketball programs as well. In fact, their boys basketball team won a state title, I recall, a couple years ago. Shot on the way, and a save made by Rhodes once again as Taylor Thomas continues to have a hard time trying to get a goal today. Otterbein 8, Capital 1. Capital 8, Otterbein 1. Don't know why I did that. 6:10 remaining in the first half. Katie Barber will pass it on ahead to Christiana Nicholas, sophomore from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. There are quite a few players on this Otterbein squad that hail from the Keystone State. Nicholas is from Pittsburgh. Caitlin McDougal is from Hookstown. And Jenny Gavitt, who we have yet to see in this game, she's from Bethel Park. Lisa Lotes, who's had a relatively quiet day in the Capital Go this afternoon. She will now toss it ahead just over the stick of Otterbein's Kira Mulcahy, excuse me. Shot on the way, Rhodes with the save. Rhodes has made a couple of impressive saves here within the last couple of minutes for Otterbein. Ball tipped up in the air, and that was almost another goal for Capital. Luckily, Rhodes was not able to allow that one to sneak on by her. Ball passed ahead to Finnegan. Actually, to Julie Platts, excuse me. Platts now over to Finnegan in the middle of the field. Finnegan will now allow her teammates to get situated here offensively. It's Capital 8, Otterbein 1. 4:40 remaining in the first half. Capital was outshot Otterbein by a wide margin, 22-6. Shot on the way. Post. Luckily for Lotes. Hines comes up with a loose ball, and she'll pitch it ahead to Thomas. Thomas with another long toss, this time to Rampy. Rampy up ahead. A fake, a shot, and a goal for Reagan Hanad. Second goal of the afternoon for the senior from Pickerington, Ohio, Reagan. And she also has an assist as well.
Scored by number 3, Reagan Hanad. The assist to number 9, Brianna Rampy.
They give the assist to Rampy on the play. Capital 9, Otterbein 1, 4:13 remaining in the first half. So it's good to see that Capital was able to get that one goal that Otterbein scored back. Regain a little bit of that mojo a little bit as we quickly approach halftime here at Promort Field at Bernlohr Stadium. Wind's starting to pick up a little bit. Still very cloudy. Temperatures are only going to be in the mid to high 40s today, although with the wind it feels a little bit more colder today. You would think that late in March things would start to warm up a little bit more, but as Mother Nature can be, especially here in the state of Ohio, she can be a little testy before we get to spring. Luckily, Easter weekend is right around the corner, so you would think that warmer weather is on the horizon here pretty soon. Capital looking to end this first half on a high note. They lead Otterbein 9-1, approaching 3:45 remaining in the first half. And Capital, I would imagine, would just take their dear sweet time here offensively unless something magically opens up there in the middle of that Otterbein zone. Twisting, turning, and a shot and a goal. Just like that. Right on cue, Catherine Walton is able to get free in the middle. And yet another goal for the Crusaders. It's now 10-1 in favor of Capital. Second goal of the afternoon for Catherine Walton. Pushes her season total to 31 here in 2018.
Capital goal scored by number 4, Kat Walton.
So 3.5 to play here in our first half. Capital 10, Otterbein 1. Hopefully the men will get a similar result tonight against the Cardinals at Otterbein. The men's teams of these respected schools facing off later on tonight up there in Westerville. That game is scheduled for a 7 o'clock start. Ball is now tipped up in the air, and it is controlled by Capital. Now, there may be some of you in our audience wondering, well, why is this game being played on a Friday afternoon? Well, with the Easter holiday coming up, Capital thought that it would be prudent to have a lot of their athletic events moved up to this Friday. That way, everybody can enjoy the rest of the Easter holiday, and it's that same way for many of the schools around the OAC. We got 3 other games being played today besides our game here at Bernlohr. Mount Union leading Ohio Northern by a wide margin, 17-1, as they've gone to halftime in that game. Baldwin-Wallace leading Wilmington 13-1 with 9:45 left to play in the first half, and Heidelberg leading Muskingum 8-4, 11:16 to play in the first half of that game. The only women's lacrosse team that will be in action on Saturday will be Heidelberg. They'll be at Oberlin. That game is scheduled for a 1 o'clock start. Under 2.5 to play. Capital 10, Otterbein 1. And waiting for everybody to clear out is Rhodes, the Otterbein goalkeeper. Tossed ahead to Christiana Nicolas. Tossed ahead to Finnegan. Shot and a miss that time. The high bouncer goes wide of the net. Abby Smoot passing it over to Pusiker. Pusiker trying to spin and twist and turn, but having no such luck against Katie Enot, who's had a strong defensive game for Capital so far this afternoon. Pusiker now trying to make a move on Enot. Shot and a nice save made by Lotz. Smoot was set up pretty well by Pusiker on that particular play, but Lotz was able to read the play effectively and make the save with her stick. Now we're coming up on a minute to play in the first half. Capital 10, Otterbein 1. A little bump there at midfield. This will allow Capital to maintain possession, but they'll have to back things up here a little bit. Brooke DeLara in the middle of the field. Now she'll run forward up to Rampy now. Back over to Rampy. 43 seconds and counting in the first half. Capital 10, Otterbein 1. Ozinger up top, trying to get in position with Walton. Now it's Hines. Over to Ozinger now. Ozinger to Walton. 21 seconds and counting. Walton now loses possession. And after a whistle, they're going to give it to Otterbein. 13 seconds and counting in the first half.
7, 6.
Otterbein will now loft it up in the air.
3, 2, 1.
Long pass. And we are now headed to halftime. At the half, it is Capital 10, Otterbein 1. We'll take a break. We'll come back, examine the stats, take a look at some scores around the OAC, and much more. At the half, it is Capital 10, Otterbein 1. You are listening to and watching a presentation of women's lacrosse here on the Capital Sports Network. Welcome back to Promort Field at Bernlohr Stadium. We are at halftime here in Bexley, and right now things are looking pretty good for Capital as they lead Otterbein 10-1 as you continue to listen to and watch a presentation of women's lacrosse here on the Capital Sports Network. I'm Charlie Danis. Let's take a look at the stats from that first half. Capital outshot Otterbein 24-9. 7 saves made for Otterbein, 3 for Capital. Ground balls, Capital leads in that category 14-9. Draw controls, Capital 11, Otterbein with only 1. And then clears, Capital a perfect 9 of 9, Otterbein 10 of 19. Some of the players who have really stood out for Capital here this afternoon, Reagan Hanaud has 2 goals and an assist. Also 2 goals for Catherine Walton. What a first half it was for Kara Hines, a game after she celebrated her 200th career goal as a member of the women's lacrosse team here at Capital. She has 4 more today. She has definitely been an offensive force for the Crusaders here in 2018. Yet another game in which she scores at least 3 goals for the purple and white. And finally, McKenna Ozinger also had a nice first half. She had a pair of goals. Taking a look at some other women's lacrosse scores now. Across the OAC, Mount Union looks to be well on its way to yet another win as they lead Ohio Northern 17-1 at the half of their game. Baldwin Wallace is leading by a large margin as well. They lead Wilmington 14-1 with 3:48 left to go in the first half of their game. And finally, Heidelberg leading Muskingum 8-5, 6:58 to go in the first half of that game. Heidelberg will be taking on Oberlin tomorrow afternoon. That game is scheduled for a 1 p.m. start. Capital looking for its first win within OAC play after suffering a bad defeat at the hands of John Carroll, a heartbreaking defeat if you ask me, a game that I saw firsthand, falling to John Carroll 12-11 in overtime. It looks as though the Capital has got the bad taste out of their mouth after that game, and barring something unforeseen in the second half, looks like they're going to be well on their way to a win here over their longtime rivals, the Otterbein Cardinals. We'll take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll get you set for the second half. Again, at the half, it is Capital 10, Otterbein 1. You're listening to and watching a presentation of Crusaders Women's Lacrosse here on the Capital Sports Network. Back here at Promort Field at Bernlohr Stadium. Coming out of halftime, it is Capital leading Otterbein 10-1. Why don't we have a moment? Let's get you updated with how other spring sports are doing for Capital at this moment. As we've talked about, the men's lacrosse team will be playing at Otterbein later on tonight. That game between the two longtime rivals in the OAC is scheduled for a 7 o'clock start. Now on to women's softball. Softball team, it's been a while since they have been playing games here because of all the weather. They were supposed to have a 2-game series against Oberlin earlier this week, but that got postponed due to the wet weather. And they were also supposed to have a 3-game series against Ohio Northern, a doubleheader actually in particular today. But that game got rained out as well. So women's softball will have to wait a little bit longer until they can take the field once again. And then finally the baseball team for Capital. They were supposed to have a game at Bluffton. 2 were supposed to play against Ohio Northern, but both of those games have been postponed because of the weather. Those games have been rescheduled for next Monday. It's going to be a double header for Capital as they take on Ohio Northern. And by the way, both those games are going to be taking place at Beavers Field, located in Lancaster, Ohio, not the ballpark here near Capital. So again, the baseball team for Capital taking on Ohio Northern at Beavers Field in Lancaster, Ohio. Doubleheader scheduled for Monday. First game will start at 1 o'clock. The second game is tentatively scheduled for a 4 o'clock start. Meanwhile, things starting to brighten up here a little bit here at Vermont Field at Bernlohr Stadium as that wind continues to whip a little bit, but good to see that things are starting to warm up here a little bit here in Bexley. Baseball season has officially started, so you can't imagine that it's going to start to warm up here within the next couple of weeks, slowly but surely. Before you know it, we'll have spring. Before you know it, we'll have summer. So that is definitely something to look forward to from a weather standpoint. Meanwhile, Capital just looking to play a good second half here and put the finishing touches on what would be a really nice bounce-back win after a very frustrating loss to John Carroll in overtime last week. They hold a 10-1 lead as we get set to begin play here in the second half. Once again, Capital wearing their all-black jerseys, purple lettering on the front of the jersey with Capital. Meanwhile, Otterbein wearing the red jerseys along with the white shorts, gold numbers on the front and back of the jersey. Capital 7-1 overall, 0-1 with an OAC play, although they look to be in good position to get their first win within OAC play. Otterbein, meanwhile, 5-5. They're in danger of dropping to below 500 overall and 1-1 within OAC play, unless, of course, they're able to stage an epic comeback for the ages here in the second half. Face off at midfield, and once again we're underway here at Bernlohr Stadium. And once again, Capital able to control possession off of the face-off. Pitch quickly ahead to Kaylee King. King trying to pitch it back forward. Now loses possession. It's a turnover early here for Capital. And Otterbein comes away with a loose ball. Active stick that time as Julie Karras was able to get it for Otterbein, but now another loose ball, and this time Reagan Hanud scoops it up for the Crusaders. Now it'll be passed around out to Kara Hines. Kaylee King now in the middle. Hines with another goal. How about Kara Hines, the senior from Columbus? You know, I was talking with Sean Nedick, an assistant SID here at Capital, helps out the head SID here at Capital, Ryan Gasser, at many athletic events here at Capital, and he told me, you know, the interesting background story on Kara Hines. Hines was originally wanting to go to Division I San Diego State to play women's lacrosse, a very good program out west. But she decided to stay here in Columbus and go to Capital instead after figuring out that she wanted to do a double major, a business major along with a math major. Felt as though that'd be much easier to do as a Division III athlete. as opposed to being a Division I athlete. Plus, it always helps that, you're playing lacrosse here in your hometown. Walton, a Columbus native, went to Worthington Kilbourne, which is definitely a lot more closer to Bexley than it ever would be to San Diego. So Capital very happy that they have gotten a standout player like Kara Hines. Kara Hines has been one of those players that has put Capital on the map, that has allowed Capital to slowly but surely grow into a women's lacrosse contender here in the OAC. You need players like Kara Hines in order to build a program from the ground up. Capital very lucky to have a player like Kara Hines sporting the purple and white, or in this particular case this afternoon, the purple and black. Loose ball, and it'll be scooped up by Capital. Kaylee King able to retrieve the loose ball for the Crusaders. So after yet another goal by Hines, who, by the way, has 5 on the afternoon, it's now 11-1 in favor of Capital, 27-15 remaining in the second half. Walton with a shot and a goal. Walton now with a hat trick today, her 3rd goal on the afternoon. Catherine Walton had a tough game against John Carroll. Had a lot of trouble getting the goal in the back of the net in that heartbreaking loss to the Blue Streaks, but she has definitely rebounded here today against Otterbein with 3 goals, pushing her season total to 32. So 26-34 remaining in the second half. Capital 12, Otterbein 1, and the clock is running. Scramble for the ball at midfield, eventually picked up by Catherine Walton. Walton will now pitch it ahead to Kaylee King. King quickly up and has the ball and her stick knocked from her grasp from behind. It's now pitched ahead as Otterbein's Cameron Finnegan trying to get something going here offensively. She'll now pitch it around. They'll go behind the Capital net. Otterbein with only 1 goal on the afternoon. That came via Cameron Finnegan late in the first half. That's been about it. Save made by Lotz. And the loose ball is picked up by Walton. And now a foul is called against Otterbein. It looks as though that Walton might have got whacked on the top of the head that time. Walton will now pitch it ahead to Hines. Hines with another long pass, this time to Taylor Barclay. Barclay scrambling around the 30-yard line as she will now get it over to Hanud. Hanud already with a couple of goals. The shot and a save made by Rhodes, the Otterbein goalkeeper. Otterbein now looking to get the ball back into the Capital zone right here. And they are going to lose it out of bounds. Boy, it has been a very tough day for the Cardinals so far. As we mentioned, the 1 goal. There have been numerous turnovers. There were numerous times in the first half where they would commit fouls against Capital, allowing players to have running starts at their goalkeeper, Rhodes, as Rhodes was attempting to make a save right there. And I think they're going to get her on a foul right there as she pushed Kaylee King, the sophomore from Dublin, onto the ground. So now King, she will have an opportunity here, a running start against Allison Rhodes. Whistle sounds. King winds up, but the ball went nowhere. And now there's a hurt player on the field for Otterbein. Taylor Robinson, wrong roster. Christiana Nicolas, sophomore from Pittsburgh, down on the field. Clock has been stopped, 24-23 minutes remaining. Nicolas, sophomore from the Steel City of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. This is that she's A-OK. And so now Otterbein will get the ball here. Capital has outshot Otterbein 27-10 and almost commit a turnover. And now there is a turnover. Thomas, Walton, shot and a goal. Another goal for Catherine Walton, her 4th on the afternoon. She and Kara Hines have been the 2 offensive bell cows for Capital today. They have gotten their offensive games in gear. They have brought their A game here today. Walton
goal scored by number 4,
Catherine Walton and Kara Hines now combining for 8 goals on the afternoon. Actually, should be 9 goals, I think. Yep, 9 goals between Hines and Walton. Hines comes away with a loose ground ball. Quickly up the near sideline. Shot and a save made by Rhodes. Looks like another foul is called against Otterbein. Stopping the clock with 22 minutes and 54 seconds remaining in the second half. It is Capital 13, Otterbein 1. A couple players being sent off the field as Taylor Barclay will make her way over to the Capital bench. Tossed ahead to Taylor Thomas, and Thomas got bumped, it looked like, by Otterbein's Christiana Nicolas. Reagan Hanud. Over to Walton. Now over to Ozinger. Passing over to Brooke DeLara, the freshman from Lewis Center, Ohio, getting a lot of playing time here this afternoon due to the score. Good to see Brooke taking advantage of the opportunity. Shot on the inside and another goal for Capital. Reagan Hanud with another goal on the afternoon. She too has a hat trick, her 3rd goal here on this Friday afternoon.
Capital goal scored by number 3, Reagan Hanud. The assist, Cat Walton.
Cat Walton also credited with an assist on that last play. Some of the Capital players before today's game were wearing warm-up shirts that on the back say, "Bring the heat," and Capital has been bringing the heat so far this afternoon. They have outshot Capital now by a 3-1 margin, 30-10. Ground balls, Capital 17, Otterbein 12. And how about this? Capital leading draw controls by a wide margin. Capital 15, Otterbein 1. You will definitely take those types of numbers if you are Capital head coach Stacy Wood. Loose ball, now a whistle. Looks like a foul called against Capital. So Cameron Finnegan already has a goal for Otterbein. Can she make it 2 on the afternoon for the Cardinals? Finnegan rushes forward, and she has her 2nd goal of the afternoon. And she was able to get that one past Katie Parks, who takes over for Lisa Lotes. Parks, a sophomore out of Loveland, Ohio, but she had no answer for Cameron Finnegan, the freshman from Dublin. It's now a 14-2 game in favor of Capital, and both goals for Otterbein have been scored by Cameron Finnegan. So the day apparently is officially done for Lisa Lotes. Lotes ended up making 4 saves on the afternoon, allowing only the 1 goal to Finnegan. And so now Katie Parks, the sophomore, will be getting some extended playing time here at Bernlohr Stadium. 19:45 here remaining in the second half. Capital up big, 14-2, and this is just what the doctor ordered after that tough loss to John Carroll last week. This is just what the Crusaders needed. Taking a quick look at the upcoming schedule for the women's lacrosse team as the Crusaders once again come away with possession of the ball here. This will be an interesting stretch with the Capital women's lacrosse team. They'll go out of conference actually coming up on Tuesday. There'll be a home game against Oberlin as that is over the net. Looks as though that Otterbein will get possession back here. So home game against Oberlin coming up on Tuesday, April 3rd. That game is scheduled for a 7 o'clock start. They will then go on the road to take on Baldwin Wallace next Saturday, April 7th. That game is scheduled for a 1 o'clock start. Back home against Muskingum on Wednesday, April 11th. And then the big game that I talked about earlier in this broadcast, the game that could decide a lot of things within the OAC standings, that crucial road game at Mount Union, Saturday, April 14th, 1 o'clock start for that game up in Alliance. Another opportunity here for Cameron Finnegan. Finnegan shoots and scores. Well, it's been a tough day for Otterbein, but it's been a standout day for Cameron Finnegan, making now 3 goals on the afternoon for the freshman from Dublin, Ohio. Good for her.
Otterbein goal scored by number 27, Cameron Finnegan.
Finnegan on the season now with 30 goals. 30 goals to go along with 6 assists. Haven't heard much of Abby Smoot today. Smoot came in here with 31 goals on the season. She was the leading goal scorer for the Cardinals. Under 17 and a half remaining in the second half. Capital 14, Otterbein 3. Hines once again with the ball. She'll pitch it ahead to Reagan Hanud. Hanud on the far side, back out to Hines. Inside, and shot, and another goal. Catherine Walton keeps them coming.
Capital goal scored by number 4, Kat Walton.
Capital 15, Otterbein 3.
McKenna Osinger.
16:40 remaining in the second half. Osinger getting the assist on the play. So Catherine Walton and Kara Hines now with 5 goals apiece. Boy, anytime you have 2 players scoring 5 goals each, should be in pretty good shape to win the game. Capital definitely in good shape here. 16:15 remaining in the second half. Capital 15, Otterbein 3. Face off at midfield once again. And once again, coming away with it is Walton. Hines. Hines now up ahead to Rampy. Hines will now pass it over to Hanud. Hanud to Rampy. Now over to Osinger. Hanud. Osinger inside. Now they go back outside. Hanud. Pass on over to Osinger. Osinger thought about a shot. Will now back out. Hanud to the right. Inside. And a near goal that time for Brooke DeLara. Capital maintaining possession here, however. as we tick under 15 minutes to play in our second half. Capital 15, Otterbein 3. Pass on the inside to Lara. Tried to secure it, was not able to. Rampy, however, giving chase, and now Otterbein comes up with it. Nice active stick that time by Julie Platts, the sophomore out of Montgomery, near the Cincinnati area. Rampy giving chase for Capital. After a whistle, they will give it to the Crusaders. Ozinger inside. Taylor Thomas still looking for her first goal. Loses possession, however. Now it's bouncing around, still bouncing around, but finally gathered up by Allison Rhodes, the freshman goalkeeper for Otterbein. Loose ground ball. It will go out of bounds, and it will go back to Capital, as Kenna Walquist was not able to handle that one. Former Upper Arlington Golden Bear is Walquist. And you can probably hear in the crowd mic that we got up here in the press box about how that wind is just continually whipping around every place. Starting to pick up here a little bit as the afternoon progresses. Bouncing ball eventually collected by Rhodes. 13 minutes to play in the second half. Capital 15, Otterbein 3. Getting into the game now for Capital is Gabrielle Fentress, sophomore from Westerville. She went to Westerville Central. There are 3 high schools in Westerville: North, Central, and South. Pretty self-explanatory. Shot on the way, and that is a save made by Rhodes. A little rough there as Nicholas got bumped around a little bit. Bouncing ball, it's gathered up. Oh, and just overshooting that time as Brianna Rampy would have had a golden opportunity to goal right there, but the pass from Ozinger just had a little too much mustard on it. Kenna Walquist with possession for Otterbein. Boy, and she flings this ball a long, long way. Is anybody going to catch up to it? Apparently not, as it will roll out of bounds, and it will go back to Capital. We talked a little bit about the upcoming schedule for the women's lacrosse team. The home game involving Oberlin coming up next Tuesday. Road game at Baldwin Walls on the 7th. Home game against Muskingum on the 11th. The big game at Mount Union on the 14th. And then Capital will finish out the season with a home game against Heidelberg on Saturday, April 21st, followed by road games at Wilmington and at Ohio Northern on the 25th and 28th, respectively. Now, if Capital, assuming that they win this game, which is looking like a pretty much a done deal for Capital this afternoon, if Capital is able to end this season on a winning streak, win their remaining games, forget about Oberlin for just a moment because they're a non-conference game. After this game, they have 6 conference games. If they win those remaining 6 conference games, that would put their record at 7-1. In that scenario, they would have the tiebreaker, the win over Mount Union, which again is just going to be a huge game from a standing standpoint. The Only loss for Capital also in that scenario would be to John Carroll, who they lost to in the OAC opener. Now every team in the OAC faces another team in the OAC just once. There is no home and away series like you often see in sports like basketball, for instance. One and done. That is it. Mount Union and John Carroll, they still have yet to play. They're going to be playing their game at John Carroll, so they're going to be in University Heights, Ohio for that big matchup coming up on Wednesday, April 4th, a game that is scheduled for a 7 o'clock start as Hines nearly had another goal right there. It very well could be an interesting stretch of games from here on out because you can clearly see, or at least from what I've seen, from what I have read, from what I've talked about with certain people, seems as though that John Carroll, Mount Union, Capital, they are the big three in terms of contending teams within the OAC. One of those three teams is going to end up with that number one seed in the OAC tournament, win the regular season title. As the ball now is tossed around here a little bit, and Capital gets back possession. 8:25 remaining in the second half. Capital 15, Otterbein 3. So since John Carroll already beat Capital, I would imagine that Capital would want Mount Union to win that game against John Carroll. That would give the tiebreak. That would give the head-to-head matchup to Mount Union, obviously. And then if Capital were able to find a way to beat Mount Union up in Alliance, that would give them the win over Mount Union. He could set up a very interesting scenario, if you will. If we give John Carroll one loss, if we give Mount Union one loss, and Capital would already have that one loss. So we could potentially be looking at a three-way tie. Again, still a lot of lacrosse, and there might be a surprising game where some team has the upset, as Hines is able to score yet another goal. It's been a banner afternoon for Kara Hines. Last game in versus John Carroll, Kara Hines was able to celebrate her 200th career goal.
Number 6, Kara Hines. The assist to number 3, Reagan Hunnad.
And now for the second time this season, Kara Hines has scored 6 goals here in 2018. Scored 6 goals against Newman back in late February. 16-3 lead for Capital. 6:48 remaining in the second half. So, not exactly sure who Capital is going to be rooting for in that Mount Union, that John Carroll game, but well, either way, it should be a very interesting finish when it comes to the lacrosse season. This Capital Women's Lacrosse program has come very far from humble beginnings. It has been a very, very good program since it got started up just a few years ago, and head coach Stacy Wood's been building up a tremendous program. 2014, this Capital squad was an OAC tournament semifinalist, as the shot is good. Otterbein with another goal. Looks like Julia Karras might have gotten on the board right there with that shot.
Otterbein goal scored by number 19, Julia Karras.
Julia Karras, a freshman from Copley, Ohio, getting another goal for Otterbein. It's a 16-4 lead for Capital. 5:18 remaining in the second half. As I was talking about when it came to this Capital Women's Lacrosse program, 2014, they were an OAC tournament semifinalist. 2015, 10-4 overall, but only 3-3 with an OAC play. 2016 OAC tournament runners-up, and then once again an OAC tournament semifinalist just this past season in 2017. They are now looking in the 5th year of the Stacey Wood era to take that next step as a program to win an OAC title, whether that be in the regular season or in the OAC tournament. So far, the big dogs on the block, so to speak, for women's lacrosse here in the OAC have been Mountain Union and John Carroll. Passed ahead. A rush opportunity here for Otterbein. Finnegan passing it ahead to Pusiker. Pusiker not able to handle the pass cleanly. Might have been batted away at the last moment by a Capital stick. But Pusiker is able to race back there and keep the possession alive for Otterbein. 4 minutes to play in the second half. Capital 16, Otterbein 4. Pusiker in the middle, and another goal for Otterbein. A tremendous setup. Kiera Mulcahy caught it in the air with her stick and then finished it off. The freshman from Columbus, former Bishop Watterson product, gets a goal here this afternoon at Bernlohr Stadium.
Otterbein goal scored by number 18, Kiera Mulcahy. Assist to number 1, Emma Pusiker.
Capital 16, Otterbein 5. As that clock continues to roll, 3:18 remaining in the second half. Well, I would imagine here with this game in pretty good shape, at least on Capital's side, and if the Crusaders are able to get the face-off here at midfield, just try to possess that ball as long as you can and try to run some clock. But however, Otterbein comes away with possession. It now rolls away from everybody and finally picked up at the last moment by Julia Karras. Karras back out in front to Kiera Mulcahy. As we come up on 2.5 to play in the second half, Capital 16, Otterbein 5. Emma Pusiker trying to spin move on the inside. Lost possession of the ball, however. Now there is a foul, and they're going to give it to Capital. So now a chance for Capital here just to possess the ball, run some clock. You already got this game well in hand. Passed on over to Gabrielle Fentress, the sophomore from Westerville. Racing in was Delara, but at the last second she pulls it back out. McKenna Ozinger. Over to Hines. Hines trying to find some room, and now a foul call once again against Otterbein. As that clock continues to run, coming up on a minute to play. Kara Hines has already had a tremendous offensive day. She's got 6 goals. Can she make it 7? Hines will right and forward, and she will score. 7 goals on the afternoon for Kara Hines on 8 shots. If that isn't being efficient offensively, I don't know what is.
Capital goal scored by number 6, Kara Hines.
And that'll be a nice capper to what has turned out to be a great afternoon here for the purple and white. 21 seconds and counting. A bounce-back win here for Capital after that tough loss to John Carroll a week prior. Capital will improve to 8-1 overall, 1-1 with an OAC play. Meanwhile, Otterbein will drop to 5-6 overall and 1-1 within OAC play.
3, 2, 1.
And that's it. Big win for Capital today as they defeat Otterbein 17-5. Big win for the women's lacrosse team today as Capital once again triumphs over their longtime rivals, the Otterbein Cardinals.
And that does it for today's game.
We'll take a quick break, and when we come back, we will wrap things up from Bern-Lawrence Stadium.
5, and your Capital University Crusaders 17.
Capital 17, Otterbein 5, the final score from Promort Field at Bern-Lawrence Stadium. You've been listening to and watching a presentation of Crusaders Women's Lacrosse here on the Capital Sports Network.
As well as what's coming up next for your Crusaders. Again, thank you for joining us, and please drive home safely.
Welcome into the Crusaders post-game show. A happy result to report from Bexley, Ohio today as Capital triumphs over Otterbein 17-5. This was a game that pretty much went the way of the purple and white the entire time. Capital outscored Otterbein 10-1 alone in the first half. It was a little closer in the second half, but the big deficit was too much to overcome for Otterbein, as Capital ends up with the victory in the end, 17-5. A check of the team stats. Capital outshot Otterbein 38-15. 12 saves for Otterbein, 5 for Capital. Ground balls, Capital 21, Otterbein 15. Draw controls, Capital 20, Otterbein with only 4. And then finally clears, Otterbein 14 of 32. Capital a perfect 13 of 13 on clears on the afternoon. The goal scorers for Kiera Mulcahy with 1, Julia Karras with 1, and a hat trick for Cameron Finnegan. She had 3. Meanwhile, for Capital, a lot of goal scorers on the afternoon. Reagan Hanud had 3 goals and 2 assists. Another standout game for Catherine Walton. She had 5 goals and an assist. 2 goals for McKenna Ozinger, along with 1 assist. But this day, offensively, belonged to Kara Hines. She had 7 goals on the afternoon. A game after she celebrated her 200th career goal in that loss to John Carroll. She explodes today, setting a new single-season high, passing the previous high of 6 that she scored against Newman back in late February. And, oh, by the way, Brianna Rampy, who got in here today, got some playing time against Otterbein. She had an assist as well on the afternoon. So, with the win today, Capital improves to 8-1 overall and 1-1 with an OAC play. Otterbein, meanwhile, drops to 5-6 overall and 1-1 with an OAC play. The next game for the women's lacrosse team will be on Tuesday. They will be hosting Oberlin in a non-conference matchup. That game with Oberlin is scheduled for a 7 o'clock start. We will get things started with the Crusaders pregame show beginning at 6:45. And that game for the women's lacrosse team, that will be followed by another OAC conference matchup at Baldwin-Wallace, April 7th. That'll be on a Saturday. That game is scheduled for a 1 o'clock start. The men's lacrosse team, meanwhile, they'll be in action later on tonight, taking on Otterbein. That game is scheduled for a 7 o'clock start and will be hosted by the Cardinals. That'll just about do it for us here at Vermont Field at Bernlohr Stadium. This is Charlie Dana saying one final time. The final score today from Bexley, Ohio, it is Capital 17, Otterbein 5. So long from Bexley, Ohio, and have a very happy Easter. Start around 4 o'clock. They got nationals, so it's probably going to be a tough game. But oh well, opening day is always fun in Cincinnati. Although, dear God, did you see the Reds opening day lineup today? Did you see it? Yeah. Oh my God. I mean, Jesse Winker. Yeah. I think they get rid of Billy Hamilton. Oh, Sean. Yeah, but I mean, he doesn't get on base. He just doesn't get on base. I mean, it's sad. Like I was legitimately excited when Billy Hamilton first came out for Reds, but I mean, he just what frustrates me about him is he wants to be a switch hitter. But from what I've seen from Hamilton, he's better swinging the bat as a right-handed hitter than a left-handed hitter, and can't hit consistently left-handed. And he can't bunt well from the left side as well, which is a shame too because if he was able to bunt better, he'd be able to get more drive bunts, he'd be able to beat out base hits, but it just hasn't happened to him. Well, yeah. Well, what you're wanting from a guy like Billy Hamilton with the speed that he possesses, if you're wanting to really be out there, obviously he's great in 100. But if you could get anything from, I don't know, like 250 to 275, somewhere in that range, and then have an on-base percentage of, I don't know, anywhere from like 330 to 350,
take that. But, you know, he has trouble hitting 240. He has trouble getting an on-base percentage of 320, 310. And you need to get on base. You can't steal first base as well as those things does. So, he's always frustrating. I mean, yeah, just Winker in the leadoff role, Hamilton in ninth. So, like, Chrysler took a page out of Joe Mansfield apparently, back in the pitcher 8th. And then Scooter Jets are cleanup hitter. Like, I get it, Scooter had a really good year last year, but you need a big, strong guy for